Welcome to Knockhill Racing Circuit for the third round of the Scottish 600 Superstock Championship. Challenge this weekend is that we're running in reverse direction. It's Knockhill, but not as we know it. Reverse direction will throw up some great racing, along with some changeable conditions here at Knockhill and some difficult tyre choices for our guys to make today. In today's race meetings, we are running reverse direction. The view you can see is the traditional view of Knockhill down towards the first corner, but for today, on the start line, the racers face this brand new view. It's given us a completely new circuit here in Scotland as they head down towards the final turn, which is the hairpin, which becomes obviously the first corner, and we're joined by Dennis Hobbs. Dennis, ex-British Superbike racer, co-commentator, and plenty of experience driving around Knockhill Racing Circuit in reverse direction as well.
Yeah, I've done plenty of laps around here on various bike track days, Neil Mackenzie's schools and everything else, and I actually prefer it going in the reverse direction. Very, very challenging as it is normal. You haven't got a chance for a break, but as you get towards the Arnold Clark chicane, coming through the top of Circuit Curve on the start finish straight, it's almost like a roller coaster. It's mega, you know, the compressions that you feel, the dip, it's pretty awesome.
I just did my first lap around the circuit earlier on today in reverse direction, and because we know it so well and we know all the blind crests and every single bump in the circuit, when you go the other way, there's nothing's familiar. It is a completely new circuit and a completely new challenge as well for these guys out there on two wheels.
Yeah, you've got to treat it as a new circuit. There's nothing that's familiar whatsoever when you're out there, so everything's new, and it's one of the only circuits in the world that can actually operate in both directions.
I'm going to have a drive around the circuit. You happy to sit next to me and talk me through?
Yeah, I'll keep it right, Joe, no hassles.
Right.
No worries, we're just going on to the circuit now. A lot of people probably think it looks a little bit different. This is a reverse direction meeting, so completely different to what we're normally used to. We're heading down towards the hairpin. This is the first corner. As you approach the hairpin, a really late braking point, probably just by the slip hole that we've just passed there, and it's a late turning point, it's a very late exit point. The apex of the corner is right at the bottom of the hill, so you don't want to come to the corner too early. You've got to come in slightly late, turn the bike through, meet the corner right at the very bottom, and then pick the bike up early, drive it nice and hard, and you're out towards all the curb on the exit and the grass key. You keep the bike over to the right hand side, and if you look straight ahead you might be able to see a red pillar, which is a camera post. That's what you're kind of aiming for as you come up here towards Clark, so keeping it over to the right hand side. As the corner starts to bear around to the right, you let the bike run out towards the middle of the track, and then probably up to 2/3, and then you start to bring it back towards the apex of Clark's. And as you're coming in, the corner, the white line starts to go straight. You pick the bike up straight, you're braking hard in a straight line. You'll see the white line goes straight now. You're braking straight, half the brake into Clark's nice and early, in towards the white line. Again, pick the bike up early, use all the road on the exit, out to all the curbs on the outside, driving the bike hard as you approach down towards the chicane. The chicane's the hardest bit to try and get right. And what I normally try and say, as soon as you see all the red curb on the inside, that's your turning point. You use all the blue and white curbs on the way in and all the blue and white curb on the way out. So as you see all the curb now, turn the bike in, use all the curb as you go through, keep it nice and straight, use all the curb on the right, and it's a straight line as you go through towards Butchers. Through the compression, and it normally naturally pushes you wide as you approach Scotsman Corner. Use a little bit of curb if you need to use them, in towards Scotsman Corner. Keep that speed up, use all the road on the exit, out towards the curbs again once more, and you're coming back to probably a third of the way across the track, in towards the right of Leslie's. And then middle of the circuit, as you start to come up the hill, you're driving the bike hard, into the left, nice and early, and on the throttle using the pit lane entrance as you come back onto the start finish straight. Head down, tucked in, and flat out as you start to come up over the top. I tend to find myself over towards the left hand side of the track as you're coming up over the start finish straight. And then as you start to go down towards the hairpin, once more you'll be able to see the tri-oval section of the track on the left hand side, also the white line that ends at the end of the pit lane. They're good reference points for braking markers. So as you're getting towards this area of the track now, hard on the brakes and back down into second gear for the hairpin once more.
600 Superstock race of the day is lined up behind me, almost ready to go, and we have some changeable conditions. It's kind of wetish, dryish. You'll see we've got wet tyres on the front and a slick tyre on the back. Now, despite the fact that we're running reverse direction, we still have our familiar faces at the very front of the grid. Michael Robertson is the man of the moment, won one race yesterday from Greg Gilfillan. Michael's running late as usual, he's not here at the moment, but Greg is. And if I can grab you really quickly, I know you're busy. Greg, a great win yesterday morning. Michael took the afternoon win. Yeah. Reverse direction, there's so much to talk about. How you find it out there?
Yeah, it's good fun. It's a bit different from normal direction, but alright, I'm enjoying it so far. It's a hard track because I've not had much track time here before on reverse. The lines are hard to get right, but it's definitely a good challenge.
You're taking Michael on at every opportunity up here in our Knockhill Motor Sports Club, but he's winning at British Championship level as well. It's got to be pretty enjoyable for you when you can manage to beat him.
Yeah, but it's a bit frustrating when I go back down there and he starts beating me, but it's definitely great to be battling with Mick. I know he's got a lot of experience, so it's good.
Now, what are you doing tyre-wise, because we've got kind of half dry, half wet? What have you gone with?
I've just gone with the dries. If it's too bad in the warm-up laps, I'll just come in. But I don't want to bin it before next weekend. I've got a British race next weekend, so I'll take a gamble and see if it pays off.
Good luck.
Cheers.
Let's swing around and speak to Paul McClung. I try to speak to Paul as much as I can. Paul, I did catch some of the races yesterday. The first one in particular, when you got Michael on the very last lap, and I was just saying to Greg, Michael's the kind of benchmark here in Scotland, and you managed to nick that second place off him on the last lap. You're really starting to click with this machine now.
Yeah, that's right. Michael's one of the top boys in Britain on one of these things, so yeah, if we stick with him then we know we're doing well, but I'm just getting used to the bike and improving every time I'm out on it. But today's pretty tricky with the weather, but I think we've got the right tyres on, so
yeah, I don't envy you guys with the weather conditions. It's like 50-50, 50% wet, 50% dry, and that's exactly what you've done with your tyres. You've got a wet one and a dry one.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's a wee bit too wet to just have a dry front on, so we just went with the wet front and see how it goes.
Let's see if it's a clever decision, and hopefully we're going to see a first win pretty soon.
Yeah, hopefully I'll try.
There we go. This will be an absolute belter of a race, I guarantee it. Dennis and Duncan are going to take us through proceedings.
Thank you very much, Joe Tanner, and here is the grid for the Knockhill Motor Sports Club Superstock 600. Duncan Vincent joined once again by Dennis Hobbs in the commentary box here. Michael Robertson, Greg Gilfillan and Paul McClung are the front row of the grid, with Scott Shand, Sean Cooper, the ever-improving Sean Cooper, middle of the second row, and Stuart McIntyre. Then it's going to be a class one. It's going to be a cracking race, because right down we've got 21 bikes out here, but we've also got tricky, changeable conditions. Some guys opt in for the dries, some guys opt in for the wets. Really, you think you made the perfect tyre choice, and then you find out once you actually leave that garage.
Yeah, these guys getting 2 sighting laps, Duncan, to get themselves up to speed, and we can see that Paul McClung, number 49, as he left the garage there, had a wet front tyre in and possibly a dry rear, and there's Owen Fozzard just going past screen. He's got wets in front and rear, and to me, looking out the window from where we're standing, it looks dry on the racing line all the way around the circuit, and we just get a good shot actually. Scott Shand's leading the pack through there on this sighting lap, and just ahead of Greg Gilfillan there's Paul McClung, and definitely a dry line there, so the people that have got the wets in, they're going to have to be searching for the wet part of the track, and even then, Duncan, it's not wet, it's just damp on the surface, so it's going to be a tough one for them.
Yeah, you'd have to go wildly offline to try and cool any wet tyres down there.
It's actually quite nice to see a nice steady lap of the track, reverse direction, is heading now down towards the chicane, and like I say, you've got to spy all that red curb nice and early and use the curb as it go through, and these guys maybe just missing it initially, being a bit tentative because it might be a little bit damp, but the sooner you get to use those lines, it's quicker and easier to carry the momentum through as they drop in towards Butchers.
We're on board with Greg Gilfillan, and he is going to come up the top of State Curves, through Leslie's there, then you come up the top of State Curves, and when you're coming through, it's all about using as much road as you can, right almost into the pit exit lane. Yeah.
I've seen you on a few times, Duncan, using all the road and probably a little bit more, and it looks like you've got a big smile on your face when you do use it.
Yeah, it's good fun. That it's a cracking little series, the series of bends there. I mean, you're actually standing in pit lane watching the bikes come up there. It's like watching the exit the scary chicanes at Monza. A little bit cooler, but here we go, we're about to go racing as we dream about being at Monza. We're here at Knockhill, and this is Sean Cooper, who gets himself psyched up on Sean's right hand side. Scott Shand, the daddy of them all, the elder statesman. Greg Gilfillan, he's come back to race up here. There's Mick Robertson just coming into his grid slot. These two guys are racing the national championship, so when they come back, everybody else kind of steps up their game. Paul McClung rounds out the front row. And this is going to be interesting because they're actually starting Robertson and Gilfillan on a damp track here. McClung's like he's on a dry line there, so here we go, green flag at the back. We're under starters orders. Bob Davis very quick with the lights and we're accelerating away, and Sean Cooper has absolutely made a fantastic start. He's jumped Paul McClung and it looks like Cooper's going to be second, maybe third as they come in towards the hairpin for the first time of asking. There's Greg Gilfillan and Mick Robertson just wiping his nose as they go through the hairpin, accelerating out. It is Stuart McIntyre alongside Sean Cooper as well. So Stuart McIntyre, former 400cc Scottish champion there, left bike racing for a little bit but has come back, and he has come back pretty hot. But Cooper takes that third place in through Clark.
Got to admit, Stuart McIntyre looking pretty impressive yesterday, and even on the test day on the Friday looking pretty quick out there at the front row. Greg Gilfillan, this is where he likes to be. He likes to be leading races, doesn't he? He doesn't like to sit behind the likes of Michael Robertson. He likes to get in front and try and control the race by himself, but sometimes that leaves the door open because Michael can sit behind, watch him, see where he's stronger, see where he's weaker towards the end of the race, and then make a pounce. But as you can see, dry line pretty much all the way around the circuit, and opening lap already looking pretty hectic.
And Greg's got a little bit of a lead there now. Mick will be seeing this as the pit boards come out, but Greg's got a nice little lead in that first lap as everybody has made it round. Sean Cooper still in a good third place here. But join us after the break for some more Superstock 600 action here at the reverse direction, Knockhill.
Want to keep up with all the racing action at the track? Well, download the new GoRacingTV iPhone and Android app. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
So welcome back to Knockhill, and we join where we left off on the back of Sean Cooper as he goes through the Arnold Clark chicane and down. It looked like he's starting to use the curbs here, so Sean getting himself getting the grip of this little 600 Yamaha which he's on through Scotsman corner. Then you go through Les's and then up the top of St Curves, turning nice and early and get the thing picked up and wide open the gas right out in towards the pit exit there. Tuck yourself in, and a cracking little bit of visual of Sean Cooper there with his lovely Arlen Ness leathers as we go over the crest hill down towards the hairpin then.
Yeah, for sure, and it just shows how much effort's involved in actually riding around the Knockhill race circuit, Duncan. You're never sitting still on the bike as Stuart McIntyre goes up the inside of Paul McClung, and that's not to be expected. McClung running a wet front tyre, remember, Duncan, and he's not going to have the same amount of braking ability on a dry track as the rest of the guys around him, and he's probably just going to drop through the pack as the race continues. Yeah,
and bit of a nightmare for Paul McClung, that one actually, the tyre choice. It's not until you leave the pitch you actually realise, oh no, I've made a mistake, it's not the best. But here we come down the back straight.
If that was you, would the decision be down to you? Would it be down to your team manager, or in this case probably Paul McClung's dad? You know, how do you think that one's probably worked out?
That's a tricky one. I'd blame it. If I made the decision, I'd definitely blame somebody else, so that's for sure. Stuart McIntyre, number 39, on a Suzuki as well. Not many Suzukis in this championship. Sammy Tasker, another one a little bit further down. We will catch a glimpse of Sammy. She's another one riding a Suzuki. But the Yamaha or the Kawasaki seems to be the chosen bike in this class, as Scott Shand now all over the back of Paul McClung as they come past the start-finish line. Paul McClung's dad there, as he was holding the pitboard out, might be ruining that tyre decision. Will Sam?
I tell you what, no, he was strong on the brakes there because he actually gapped a little bit from Scott Shand, but there you go, he's run wide on the exit, and Scott Shand takes that place and heads up towards Clarkson, up into 5th place on the track at the moment.
So Sean Cooper giving us some cracking onboard views here as we come in towards Clark Corner. This one drops away from you all the time, but you've got to be hard on the gas all the way down the back straight towards that chicane. Scott Shand, he is now ahead of Paul McClung. The next person, Liam Shelcock off the back of Paul McClung now. Can he make a move and get on terms with young McClung? But at the front it looks like the gap, we just got a little glimpse of that as they were going through Scotsman. It looks like Mick Robertson has really closed in to the back of Greg Gilfillan on the GSG Kawasaki as they come back up to click off another lap here. Sun split the sky, and you can actually almost see the track drying every lap to come round.
Yeah, and you can see these guys using more and more of the circuit on the exit seat curve as they come up over the start finish straight. But like you say, Duncan, Michael Robertson now all over the back wheel of young Greg.
Out of the hairpin, clicking off the laps here. Gilfillan tucked right in, gets the bike back over towards and you know, it's probably great. The riders do enjoy it because they're getting so much practice going around left-handers, which they don't normally get racing in Scotland.
They get use out of both sides of the tyres, so they can the last set of mating tyres, they can bring them back out again.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's bought new tyres for this one, but here we come through the Arnold Clark chicane. Both guys actually using the second curb now, but they could possibly get away with using that first curb as well. But Mick Robertson does look like he is weighing up young Greg Gilfillan here. You see young Greg Gilfillan. Mick's not exactly old himself. Greg having a little bit of movement from the rear end of the bike there then.
Yeah, do you know what the impressive thing for me is? We've got to remember, young Greg is only in his second year of racing, Duncan, and he's already at this kind of level with Michael Robertson, who's at the top of his game and the top of the class in the British Championship.
On board with Greg Gilfillan, and we're going to see a Mick Robertson appearing up the inside at the hairpin as Greg goes in. Does he go in pretty hot? No. Well, this time last year, I have to say, Greg would have thrown this away. He would have slid off, and he had a bit of a disaster. But we are seeing a transformation in the young man, aren't we? He's a proper racer now. He goes down south. He knows how to conduct himself on and off the track.
Yeah, for sure. He's doing a great job learning circuits up and down the country, and that's the hardest thing, Duncan. Is these guys are very familiar with Knockhill, but when they go down south, they're not as familiar with the circuits. So when they're going into these tracks, they're not as quick straight away. It only takes a matter of time. Looks like a bit of a moment as he went through the Arnold Clark chicane there. The bike looked like it snapped a little bit on him.
Whole lap looks like a moment to me, to tell you the truth, Dennis, as he comes through Scotsman.
I blame Davey. I think the camera's probably slightly mounted wrong.
Yeah, but we will definitely blame the executive producer as Greg Gilfillan. There you go, right in towards the pit exit. Almost missed his apex at the top of that a little bit, but am I being critical? I wouldn't know. I've never found an apex in years as he comes over the crest hill. Here comes Mick. Here comes Mick Robertson on the number 98 Yamaha R6. Does he get up the inside? No, because Greg Gilfillan is very, very strong on the brakes as he accelerates out of the hairpin onto the damp patches here, but still keeping that little Kawasaki wide open.
You can actually see from that camera shot the red camera post they actually aim for as they're heading up towards Clark's. So it's probably a pretty good shot, and again in towards Clark's nice and early. And with the camber of the corner, Duncan, it is important you get in early, because if you're in there late, it holds you wide all the way through.
He's also gapped him a little bit as he come through Clark and towards Arnold Clark chicane. He's gapped Mick Robertson as he go back into third place. Shawnee Cooper, is this not a fantastic ride by Sean Cooper, who's just getting the hang of this 600? Oh dear, way out of the seat there. Sean Cooper just gets a little moment going over the curb, so that curb maybe still a little bit slippy there then.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a curb or maybe he clipped a bit of the hot dog curb at the side of it, Duncan. I wasn't too sure, but I dare say as long as you've got the bike upright, you're okay. But Michael Robertson now on a charge.
Yeah, it looks like he's taking the lead as he come up the hill there. Greg was a little bit lame, but Greg's going to show him the edge of the track. He knows. Oh, Mick Robertson actually runs in a little bit hot there. Greg giving him no room whatsoever, and now that's the biggest lead he's had since about the first lap. Robertson has a little look over his shoulder, regroups for a minute and thinks, right, here we go, I've got to go now, it's now or never. Greg Gilfillan won't know he's got that lead. We might notice that there's not a sound behind him.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, he will be thinking. He'll be thinking that Michael Robertson's all over the back of him because he's seen him now. He's going to be aware that he's there, so he's going to try and make something of this. And again, these guys avoiding that first turn-in curb as they go through the top of the Arnold Clark chicane.
Yep, back in towards Scotsman. Mick Robertson is trying, you see that, but Greg Gilfillan, he's got a nice little buffer now. This is just what you would like, isn't it? Nice little buffer, but you want to get a good pit board as he comes up here, and that's one thing Greg is missing, is a good pit board as he come up underneath the Beatson's Building Supply Bridge, past Bob Davis, Chief Marshal, and all the fan clubs on the pit wall there. He's on the brakes of the hairpin. He'll be expecting to see Mick Robertson again, but he's got, that's a good second, almost a second lead there, you'd say then.
Yeah, for sure. It looks like he's making progress. Whoa, Greg's off the side of the track.
Oh, Greg Gilfillan runs out of road. Oh dear, Greg Gilfillan just runs off the edge of the track there and hands it, absolutely hands on a plate to Mick Robertson.
I just saw him there. He was on the throttle there. He just started to go wide onto the damp part, and then obviously sat the bike up and running out towards the grass there, and that's a small mistake by young Greg, but he was sensible. He kept off the throttle, brought the bike back onto the track, and he's got to regroup now and try and chase Michael Robertson back down. And just incidentally, quickest lap so far is a 53.7 by Michael Robertson, and that's only a couple of tenths off the quickest lap of yesterday in perfect dry conditions.
Well, that's a bit of a shocker for young Greg. We're not really used to seeing him making mistakes now, but Mick Robertson has been gifted that one after making a mistake himself at the hairpin. Mick will be smiling underneath that RI helmet as he comes up, say it curves and winds on the throttle on that R6 Yamaha, chasing him hard as Greg Gilfillan. As we cross the line again, the laps get clicked off ever so quickly by these guys at the front here. As we go further back into the mid-pack now, we pick up with the riders behind Paul McClung. We've got Liam Shelcock and Matt Polanski as they come up the hill. Shelcock's a man who's just getting back onto form after a little bit of injury then. Yeah, for sure, he's starting to pick himself up and getting better and better. But Shelcock's been away, he's been doing the British Championship stuff as well, like same with Greg and Michael Robertson. So he's obviously pretty sharp with his racing, and Matt Polanski, they're doing a fantastic job hanging in with these young kids. Yeah, stepping up from the pre-injected 600 class, Polanski getting on well with that Kawasaki. But look at this, Sean Cooper has been caught by Scott Shand as they come down towards Arnold Clark chicane. Scott Shand really getting a wriggle on towards the end of this race. Now, can the daddy off them all, can he catch and pass Scott Sean Cooper, because Cooper's just a baby compared to Scottish Hand.
Well, just watching the line there, Sean Cooper had a perfect line through the Arnold Clark chicane there, and slightly different from the man right behind, but Stuart McIntyre in front of Paul McClung there.
In front of Paul McClung, exactly. McClung won't be liking that. Now, Stuart McIntyre is sporting the orange vest purely because he took a break from racing after winning a championship, and he's come back now as we get... That's Ian Barry, isn't it? Ian Barry, big-bodied Barry, chasing Owen Fozzard, another former champion in 400s.
And Fozzard's going to be struggling. We know he's on full wet tyres.
Yeah,
so
there's not going to be much left of
him.
them, is there? Because it's actually quite warm outside, believe it or not, when you're actually watching the skies. Look, you can see that Barry's got more drive as they come up, say it curves here, and it's just a little bit of a wobble there for Barry at the top of the hill. But yeah, those wet weather tyres are going to have almost been non-existent on the back of Owen Fozzard's bike. But look at this, Gilfillan is on a charge.
Yeah.
Isn't Gilfillan on a charge?
And look at the timing screens, Duncan.
53.14 seconds for Greg Gilfillan.
That's the quickest lap of the weekend.
And that's not perfect conditions.
No, for sure.
53.1 around Knockhill. Oh, we've got our tail end on the way here. And Mick Robertson just snatches past him as they go through. Leslie's there. Oh, Mick Robertson gets past. Does Greg Gilfillan get past? Yes, he does. But he runs out wide. And that was David Jackson on the number 21 Suzuki there. David not doing anything wrong, but just gets himself done by the leaders of the race as they come up through St Curves.
And there's Ian Barry getting past Owen Fozzard, and Ian Barry making a return to racing. I think the last meeting he did was the reverse direction here last year, Duncan. He's not been out on a bike since, so good to see Ian Barry getting himself back into it. Just going to take his time, but young Greg is on a charge.
Oh, isn't he just? That got a little bit loose going towards the hairpin there. A little bit too much. Was that back brake? Was down the gears too quickly? What would you say that was, Dennis?
It was just hard on the brake, and because it's downhill as well, it was the rear of the bike starts to pitch up and it's just snaking out. It's trying to overtake him, and but he managed to hold it well. He just ran a little bit wide, but he's going to have to do a hard job to try and get past Michael Robertson now. Yeah,
it's going to have to be a meteoric lap by Greg Gilfillan. Look at that, there's a tail ender in front of Mick Robertson, and that is really helping him out. Something else here's to come down. That's Jody Chalk getting lapped, and that's something we're not used to seeing. Chalk goes a lap down, and Gilfillan is now right on the back of Mick Robertson as they go through the Arnold Clark chicane.
You've got to assume Jody Chalk there probably on full wet tyres, but Greg Gilfillan all over the back of Michael Robertson.
Now, can Gilfillan make a move here? Can he wind the Kawasaki up as they come up the hill here? It's all about being brave as you come up the top of the hill here, and he's on it, isn't he? He is right on it. He's tucked right into the slipstream. Everybody on the pit wall will be seeing this. Gilfillan goes towards the inside. They're side by side, passing the checker flag, but it's not enough for Gilfillan. It's just not enough. How much did that come down to, Dennis?
That was 2 1,000ths of a second there, Duncan. Pretty close.
So Mick Robertson takes a very well-deserved hard-end victory. Greg Gilfillan kept him honest. A mistake by both riders throughout the race, but unfortunately Gilfillan's mistake more costly, handing the race to Robertson there.
Yeah, sure, Greg's mistake there. He was lucky to keep the bike upright and did a fantastic job in getting it back onto the track, but young Greg will be happy with this. It was good close racing, and he knows that when he goes to his next British Championship round, he can be mixing it with Michael Robertson, because that's a guy that's at the front end. He's won a race round here at Knockhill, but also been top 6 at various other circuits up and down the country, so that's going to be a confidence booster, probably what he needs to open up his championship campaign.
Great camera views there, actually. Great camera views from the exit of the Arnold Clark chicane, off the whole of the kind of the theatre area of Knockhill. You can get a great view from anywhere in this area as the guys are coming around on their slowdown lap.
I've just got to say about Scott Shan there, recently married in Las Vegas after the last meeting, so congratulations to Scott.
And did he get third at the end? He got third just ahead of Shawnee Cooper. So the guys ushered back into pits lane. We will be handing over to Joe Tanner in just a second, but a cracking way to start the first Superstock 600 race here at Knockhill for the reverse direction meeting. Mick Robertson wins from Greg Gilfillan, the two young hard chargers at the front, displaying some cracking riding. Interesting to see what McClung will do with proper tyres on. So Mick Robertson wins from Greg Gilfillan, Scott Shand, and a great ride from Sean Cooper. Paul McClung does get 5th ahead of Liam Shelcock. Stuart McIntyre, and in 8th place we see Matt Polanski. Join us after the break.
Some of the biggest upheavals in American sports is in the world of motor racing, especially sports car racing. There's mergers, new series being proposed, audiences coming and going, drivers getting younger and younger. That's why you need the Racing Insiders on MAV TV to help you navigate the turmoil. The Racing Insiders is a new, weekly, 30-minute news show covering sports car racing, whether it's being done professionally, globally, or by the local grassroots club. Award-winning journalist Bill Wood will host the weekly discussions, along with race-winning insiders Peter Keene in Florida and Jim Daniels in Tennessee. It's a fast-paced, edgy sports show. They'll even reach out to guest insiders to bring you behind-the-scenes insider information you'll want to know. This new era in sports car racing needs the Racing Insiders.
The Racing Insiders on MAV TV, Thursdays at 2 and 5 p.m. Eastern, and again on Saturdays at noon.
Michael, a great win. You had one win yesterday. Greg took the first one, you took the second one, but that one was some battle there, so close at the end.
It was tricky to begin with. Went in warm-up lap and full dries on. I thought, to begin with, when I went out, I thought, if it's going to be too wet, I'll just pull in. I'd rather save my bike. And the minute the lights go off when you start racing, that goes right out of your mind. And first few laps were a bit tricky, just a few damp patches running over the lines. Had a moment going into the hairpin behind Greg. I went back to first instead of second. It backed itself all the way in. I had to wait till it squared up. Managed to get back up behind Greg again. He'd done the same coming out. He ran up the grass, but it's so hard, like that last corner coming up on the start and finish straight. It's so hard when you're at the front to try and get a line and where to tip in, 'cause it's a blind corner, but when you're behind someone it's a lot easier. So I know Greg was going to keep catching me, because that's my slowest point pretty much, I think. So, but no, I'm still happy with the result. It was close over the line. I could hear him coming, but I managed to get it at the end.
It's great to see that you're continuing to race despite how well you're doing in the British Championship. I know that there's quite a lot on the line for you. If anything goes wrong up here, it jeopardises what you're doing in the British Championship, which you're doing really well at. And you were getting a little bit of stick on Facebook and whatnot, saying that you shouldn't be racing, you should be concentrating on the British Championship.
I seen that. I was in two minds about the race, but at the same time, I mean, competing with these guys down south, you've got, regardless where you go, you've got to be on the bike all the time. And at the same time, I think to myself, I don't want to do any damage, but you're here to race, so I mean that's the way the racing goes. Racing's racing, so every weekend on the bike's a benefit. So hopefully I can continue good, as you said, down south. British Championships are going really well. Away to Oulton Park next week, so fingers crossed it goes well.
Well done for today.
Thank you.
Greg, second place that time. You had a win yesterday, and that was almost a win. It was so close at the end.
I was trying like mad on that last lap, trying to get in front of him, but wasn't to be. I missed a gear coming up the straight as well. I reckon I might have had him if I'd had smooth gear changes, but
Michael mentioned the final corner as his weak spot when we're going reverse direction around Knockhill. And yesterday at lunchtime I took a trip down and watched your race from the exit of the last corner. I'm getting confused. It's normally the first corner, it's now the last corner. Yeah. And through there you're visibly quicker than anybody else, and I could see that's the way you were trying to make that difference.
Yeah, I love that bit. The back end's kicking out a little bit. The whole track. I just love the reverse direction. I think it's good fun. But I could see that I was faster than I'm on that bit as well. So on that last lap, I thought I'm just going to try and get it there. And the black marker kind of brought back Mick to me. So I thought I'd just go for it, and then nearly next race.
I'm looking forward to it already. Well done.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Third place in the first 600 Superstock race of the day. Some tricky conditions out there, and as you mentioned, the young lads, they didn't hang around, they were gone, where the sensible guys hung around a bit.
Aye, that's right. I kind of just had two brand new tyres on, and I was wary they weren't scrubbed, and so I just gave it a couple of laps to be on the safe side, because there was a lot of damp patches and the lines were kind of narrowed as if the thousands had dried out. It wasn't really dry right to the outside of the track, so I just spent a couple of laps really trying to make sure that wasn't just going to fall off straight away, and it felt better. Then I knew the tyre was grippy, so I just kind of built up my speed through the race, but it was quite good. I just accepted that third was the best I could get, which I'm quite happy, because that's the first podium I've had this year, so I've had umpteen fourths, so I've been really keen to get on the podium at some point. So
some really stiff competition here as well in Scotland, with Michael winning at a British Championship level, Greg as well. It's not like like these guys are walking the park.
No, that's right. That's the thing with the 600s this year. It's guys who are doing British Championship that you're up against in Scotland, and even guys like Paul McClung, he's riding really well. So it's no easy, and I'm a bit on the heavy side, which isn't exactly helpful against all these lightweight guys. But they're riding really well, and I'm quite happy I'm managing to hang in there a bit.
Well done.
Aye, thanks for that.
600 Superstock race number 2 is lined up, ready to rock and head out on track under some perfectly dry conditions this time. There's no mixed match tyres, full dry settings for everybody. Dry tyres on the number 94 machine of Greg Gilfillan, and what a battle we saw in the first race between Greg and Michael Robertson. It was so close at the line, and I'm sure we're going to see something pretty similar. They're joined by number 49, Paul McClung. He is again up on the front row. And let's keep wandering down the field a little bit further. I'm going to speak to someone we haven't spoken to in a little while as we walk past row 2, Sammy Tasker's familiar pink machine. She's really getting to grips with the 600 now. And I want to speak to Jodie Chalk, because Jodie we saw, if I can squeeze in, Jodie,
Yeah.
We haven't spoken in a while. Last year, right at the sharp end on the 600, we saw you lead in a race before it all went wrong. This season hasn't been quite as plain sailing though.
No, we've had a lot of problems this year, trying to get back to who we were last year, but a lot it's just to do with confidence. We've had a lot of time off track, so hopefully just get more track time next year and be back on it.
Championship wise, the pace at the front, it's like a British Championship round up here. These guys, Michael Robertson in particular and Greg, are running at like a British Championship pace. To be where we are, I mean, we're only row 3 or 4 now, it's not bad.
Oh no, it's definitely good. I mean, the boys up here, you can't say they're not quick, they're all absolutely on it, so hopefully just get a good race and try and stick with some of them.
You make lightning starts as well. I remember seeing you taking 2 or 3 rows. How are the starts going? I haven't noticed them so much this year.
They've been alright. I'll try and go for another where I get to the front, but we'll see how good things go.
Right, Jodie, I'll be looking for you in the lead at the first corner.
Yes, thank you.
There we go, we'll let Jodie carry on. Let's have a wander through. Let's speak to Owen Fozzard. Owen, ex-Formula 400 champion, stepped up to the 600 last year, I believe it was, wasn't it? Stepped this way. We'll get you in front of the machine. Yeah, stepped up onto the 600 last year. Enjoying it? Slowly making some progress as well.
Making some progress this year. Maybe struggling a bit this weekend, but I didn't do any practice, I'm afraid, at the reverse direction. So
straight into qualifying? Straight
into qualifying, yeah. So kind of learning through the weekend, but everyone else seems to be getting quicker through the weekend as well. But
it's not the easiest thing, because although we know Knockhill so well and we've all spent so many years racing here, when they ask you to go the wrong way around the circuit or the reverse direction around the circuit, it's a completely new place.
It is, it's a completely new circuit, as you say, so it's really just a learning weekend, I guess, this weekend.
Still enjoying it though?
Oh, I definitely, yep, sure.
Good stuff, and it's great to see a huge amount of bikes as well. This will, as ever, be good close racing. I'm going to hand it upstairs to Dennis and Duncan, and they will take you through it.
Okay, thank you very much, Joe Tanner. Front row sees McClung, Robertson and Gilfillan in this race, with Shand, McIntyre and Shelcock, Cooper, Tasker, Heritage, Laverty, Polanski and Fozzard. This is going to be a good one, Dennis, because the conditions appear to be a lot better than they were for our first race.
Yeah, for sure. You know, the guys were putting in lap times that we've not seen all weekend. The quickest race time of the weekend in what was a damp race, so we can only expect it to improve and get better in this one, because it's almost perfect conditions out there, Duncan. Not as hot as yesterday. That little bit of coolness in the air will make the engines run that little bit better, and hopefully we're going to have a cracking.
So here we go, as we see the guys leaving the garage. Sean Cooper 22 gave us a cracking ride. Cathal Lafferty, wouldn't it be good to see Cathal Lafferty getting a result again after what he done at the Superbike meet, which was absolutely fantastic, getting a brace of wins. It's just not quite there for Cathal this year.
Yeah, just unfortunate. We don't know what it is. It's not really clicked with him as such, and to be fair, that the first meeting of the year he wasn't anywhere near, but he's getting better and better the more track time he's getting, and like I say, a lot of it is to do with confidence. You know, as we heard Jodie Chalk saying there in the garages, maybe he's not as much track time as other people, but bike racing is a lot in the mind as well, Duncan.
Yeah, confidence is everything, absolutely. If you've had a lot of time off the track and you know your rivals have been on track for quite some time, it does play in your head, yes. So here we see lovely dry track, blue skies, sunshine, happy days.
Yeah, for sure, and this is the second of the warm-up laps here at Knockhill, and these guys heading back up towards Clark's.
Past the Cushies of Dunfermline sign there as we head towards the long, ever-tightening right-hander, then back to the left for Clark's and past the John Young sign shaver, good friend of mine John, and then down the back straight we come towards the chicane. Tricky chicane this, Dennis, Arnold Clark chicane. You can see the guys are knocking it back off there, but you can use both the curbs. They've got the nice grippy FIM paint on them.
Yeah, for sure, and I'm a big fan of from the top of the Arnold Clark chicane all the way to the start-finish through seat curve. I believe it's the best part of any circuit in the country, and if not the world, the ones that I've been on before. It's absolutely fantastic and puts a big smile on your face, and anybody that's not done it, they need to try it.
Sammy Tasker, number 97 there. Sammy, we're looking for big things from young Sammy here. She's getting quicker and quicker each time she's on that bike, and maybe in the dry, on the damp, so it's just been a little bit tentative. Don't blame anybody for that, but can she show us just exactly what she's made of here in the dry?
You see some people maybe do try a little bit harder in those conditions because they think they can squeeze probably a better result, Duncan. So you may be right in what you're saying there, but now conditions are perfect. It's the same for everybody. Everyone's going to be given 100%. They don't need to be tentative at all, and it looks like Paul McClung being nice and relaxed. He's going to be one of the last guys up towards the grid, and behind him one of the orange vest riders.
Yep, somebody going through the giant slalom there, and they get themselves lined up underneath the Beatson's Building Supply Bridge, and this is where you're just getting yourself into race mode. You know, the visor's down, first gear, look down, make sure you're in your correct grid slot, and here we go. Grid marshals clearing the grid. Green flag at the back from Clark of the course, Sandy Forrest. There we go, we're under starters orders. It's all about Bob Davis and his finger on the button. Red lights on, red lights off, away we go, down towards the hairpin, and it's a cracking start from Robertson. McClung makes a not bad start. The whole front row actually make a very good start. There's nobody bursting through from the second row, but look at Greg Gilfillan there. Very, very late in the brakes, and he leads in towards the hairpin for the first time of asking. Sean Cooper's also right up there in the mix as well, and Liam Shelcock.
Did you see Sammy Tasker lift Scott Shan there mid-hairpin and stick him out wide towards the grass on the exit? And Scott Shan's must have lost, he's down in about 12th place at the moment.
Yeah, that wasn't a very good hairpin for Scott Shan. Lifted out the road by about an 8-stone featherweight there, but you don't want to get on the wrong side of Sammy Tasker, that's for sure. Gilfillan, Robertson, McClung through the chicane, all over the curbs. There you go, Dennis Hobbs smiles, big thumbs up for young Greg as he eases all the curb there and then flies up towards the Scotsman corner.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen Greg out on a few track days, and he's followed me around a little bit, but very fast on the track days. And you can see, you know, Michael Robertson, it's the first time he's been on the Knockhill reverse direction circuit this weekend. He's picked it up already, and him and Greg are absolutely on it. But Paul McClung there, he was in pole position yesterday, and it's the Scottish Championship race, so this is why it's gone back to original grid positions. And Paul McClung there lined up in pole position on the grid, and right in the back of these guys, this is where he needs to be.
Revenge is coming Sammy Tasker's way, because as we come up St Curves there, Scott Shan was tucked right up the back of that pink GSXR 600, and yeah, he has got past as they go out of the hairpin and head towards the hairpin. Shan has now got, I think is it possibly Shelcock and McIntyre in front of him, but as we come through Clark Corner, the three leaders pulling away at the front of you. The correct tyre choice has been made as we see them going in there. Mick goes in pretty hot into the Arnold Clark chicane there, and then they hold it all the way through. It's Sean Cooper, and then it's still Sean Cooper actually, and Stuart McIntyre.
Yeah, and Sean Cooper looks to me like he has the best line through the chicane. That's where he's most confident over probably the rest of the guys around him, but he's doing a great job. But the first three have absolutely pulled away from the rest of the pack, and this is only the second of the flying laps, and young Greg there having a cheeky look as he comes up over the top.
Yeah, cheeky little look back there, but in towards the hairpin. Mick Robertson looking up the inside there. You've got to make sure you're getting the thing stopped at the hairpin, and Robertson dives up the inside. Nice calculated manoeuvre there. That wasn't a lunge by any way, shape or form. That was an absolute manoeuvre, and McClung will be seeing this happening ahead of him, and he'll be wanting a shot of Greg Gilfillan as well as they head towards Clark Corner. Knee out from Mick Robertson, jumps back across the bike, back over to the left hand side, skimming the curb with his knee as he goes through there, and then drives it hard in the back straight. But Greg Gilfillan looks like he's actually driving it harder down the back straight towards Clark there, and they get over the top of the Arnold Clash again. Mick Robertson running a little tad hot there, little tad hot, but join us after the break.
Want to keep up with all the racing action at the track? Well, download the new GoRacingTV iPhone and Android app. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
So welcome back after the break. We're still on board with Greg Gilfillan climbing Butchers in towards Scotsman, chasing Mick Robertson on that number 98 600cc Yamaha, the R6, as they come up Leslie's in towards St Curves, and these three have just absolutely destroyed the rest of the field as Greg Gilfillan almost onto the grass.
That is the Duncan Vincent line, I think. You know what I was saying there, I was saying you run a little bit wide before, but young Greg absolutely on the money at the moment.
That.
Yeah, for sure. 52.9 already, so the first time these guys have been under the 53 second bracket, and 52.9 by Michael Robertson, Greg Gilfillan and Paul McClung all together on that lap.
What we'd like to see is a split screen here with a camera on the back looking back at young Paul McClung as we come in towards Clark Corner, because Paul McClung is hanging in with these guys here, and they're absolutely on it as they come down the back straight. But as I say, these three have absolutely pulled away from the battling group behind them, which is headed still by Sean Cooper.
Definitely in a different race from anybody else. I think already 8 seconds over the rest of the guys behind Duncan. We've only done 4 laps.
Yeah, they're in a different postcode really, aren't they? We'll try and get a glimpse of the rest of the guys coming up, but no, we don't even get that as they come up there. Let's just watch them using all the track and a bit more. Gilfillan right out into the curb. The only thing you got to watch there, it does get a little bit lumpy and bumpy off the end of that curb.
Yeah, there's a couple of bumps just as it passes the white line, which is the entrance towards the pit lane, and it just kind of make you swirl around a little bit and snap the bike around, but it's mega fun. You had a big smile on your face.
Yeah,
like
yeah. I always have a big smile on my face here, but look at that, you see that?
Michael Robinson was wide then, and that's exactly what Greg did in the previous race, but because it was wet, he had to pick the bike up and run wide off the track, whereas Michael was quite lucky there to keep it on.
Yeah, Mick Robertson, very, very lucky there. We both kind of sat bolt upright in our seats there as we're still looking at Mick Robertson on board with Greg Gilfillan through the Arnold Clark chicane. Mick Robertson, oh, huge huge moment, goes in too wide, hits the red curb, and very, very lucky to stay on that.
And do you know, I'm not surprised he's done that because he never uses that first curb, Duncan. So if he slides in slightly late, that's going to be pushing him wide. So he's got to change his line. He's got to use all that blue and white curb on the inside. That's going to make life a lot easier for him. As we look back at Stuart McIntyre, and then we've got Liam Shelcock and Sammy Tasker right in the wheel tracks as they come back through the top of Leslie's into C curve onto the start-finish straight.
Well, that's where years of practice and experience for Mick Robertson paid off there. He managed to hold that one and control it. Sean Cooper, Scott Shand at the head of this group as we head towards the hairpin, but 3 wide further down, Tasker, McIntyre and Shelcock, but McIntyre just releases that brake a little bit and rolls it in towards the heart of the corner and holds position. But we're on board with Shawnee Cooper. Sean in a fine 4th place. This young man really is getting to grips with this 600. Let's hope he sticks around and stays on the 600 for a couple of years then.
Yeah, he's riding the 600 pretty hard at the moment, but you've got to say the pace of the front three is absolutely phenomenal at the moment. But Sean Cooper gaining confidence. But Scott Shand, he's done a fantastic job in this race. Mind at the first lap, he was pushed wide at the hairpin by young Sammy Tasker, and he's come back through the field now, and he's all over the back of Sean Cooper, and that's a battle for 4th place. Yeah,
and still getting to grips with the Mick Robertson leaping over that red curb at the Arnold Clark chicane there. But thankfully Mick has kept it upright, and those three are still away at the front as we watch these guys bursting up over the top of 8 curves. And if anything now, Cooper and Shand have broken away from the pursuing three of McIntyre, Shelcock and Tasker as they come towards the hairpin. Now Scott Shand pretty strong on the brakes, but just he's still got issues with his shoulder. It's a weak shoulder after falling off his CBR Fireblade a couple of years ago. It's a little bit of closeness coming to the hairpin there with Shelcock and McIntyre.
Yeah, like McIntyre runs slightly wide, and Shelcock, they saw the door open for him and he went straight through for it.
Now have these two pulled away from Paul McClung, because McClung wasn't in the same camera shot there as we went on board with Greg Gilfillan, an empty track in front of him. Meanwhile, through the Arnold Clark chicane, there you go. Oh, Sean Cooper.
He never lost any time there. He knew he was probably going to just skim the edge of the hot dog curb, sat himself up nice and early, and that's the way to do it.
Stood up. That's something Dougie Lampkin would have been proud of there, the way he went through. But up 8 curves again, they come McIntyre. He's got a lot of hassle from Sammy Tasker here.
And do you know what's happened there? He's actually pulled a little bit of a gap, because probably the guys behind him seen him running slightly wide, throttled off, but he's kept it pinned, and he's pulled up the biggest gap he's had over Scott Shand so far.
Yeah, we're happy with that. He'd be happy he's still on the bike, I would imagine, after that. Nice crowd here at Knockhill as well, basking in glorious sunshine as we see the bikes accelerating from the hairpin along Hislops. And you're right, Dennis, aiming for that camera stand right in front of us here, that red pole.
Just watching the lines there, Duncan, still a variety of different lines as the guys head up towards Clark's, completely different to ours. Michael Robertson.
Yeah, Robertson dives underneath. Oh, and there's a big moment for Greg Gilfillan. The back's moving about, and they're side by side through Leslie's, and Gilfillan says definitely not to Mick Robertson, and that's going to hurt Mick Robertson all the way up this straight now.
Young Greg is brave, and this is why you love the younger riders, Duncan, and he went straight for the switch back underneath, drove it hard. You could see the back end of the bike sliding, and he just closed the door right over the front of Michael Robertson.
Polanski leading Heritage, leading Fozzard there as we see those guys going through Scotsman there.
And that's a battle for 8th place on track at the moment.
Good stuff, but we flick back over, pick up with Cathal Lafferty and Ian Barry. Good to see these guys out here. Cathal Lafferty with a couple of wins at the BSB meeting, but there goes the battle for 8th position in towards the hairpin now. Heritage having a bit of a look here. Heritage right in the white line, but look at Owen Fozzard up the inside. Well, up the inside of 2 of them, and he runs a bit wide and almost takes Mark Heritage into the gravel.
I think Owen Fozzard thought, I'm going wide, I'm going to take this goal.
What is that? Oh, that's Scott Shand. Scott Shand goes down from 4th place, and that was a big fast off. That bike's rolled into the gravel trap, and he will not be getting going from that. And there's somebody else on the banking as well there. That looked like Stuart McIntyre's bike as well, Dennis.
Yeah, we must have missed that, Duncan. So McIntyre and Scott Shand there, and that looked a bit nasty for the bike there. It did a bit of a pirouette and in. That would have got a 9.5 if it was an acrobatic show.
Yeah, we're getting a kick in the something or other now though.
This is making life hard for us, Duncan. It's 4 white bikes all together as they come through the top of St. Curve back onto the start-finish straight.
Laverty, Rum there, the 2 at the front, Barry's at the back, and yeah, but just going back to that Scott Shand on there, the bike did roll a few times. Let's hope we can get that fixed, Dennis, because that was a high speed off there.
I just spied Patrick Foreman there, the last guy coming up over the top, using all the road on the exit. Patrick Foreman going really good on the Superstock 600s and finding it hard mixing it with these young guys.
Don't we love Patrick Foreman as Greg Gilfillan Fillon has a huge moment at the top of St Curves, rides him into the grass. Oh, good grief, Dennis. And the checker flags out. Mick Robertson wins that race. But Gil Fillon's absolutely raging with that one.
I'm not surprised. I thought he was going for a ride through the pits. That's the on board there. He had a big moment, obviously, prior to that. And that was the last lap of the race, and that's cost him the race victory. He had that one in the bag, and young Greg is definitely going to have to need a change of trousers after this one, because that was a huge moment.
Yeah, it's not a place where you want to be getting any sort of movement from the rear tyre of the bike like that. Anyway, Ozzy and Barry gets a little bit close to the hot dog curb towards the end of the race here. But Mick Robertson has been absolutely gifted that one from Greg Gilfillan. But Greg didn't look like he backed off very much, did he?
Mind you, Duncan, I'm just looking at the screens there. The last lap of the race, Paul McClung, he obviously crossed the line in third, but the quickest lap of the race with a 52.7.
Wow, and a 600cc ZX6R around Knockhill. 52, so that's incredibly quick from young Paul McClung, and learning all the time, following these two guys ahead of him. But Mick Robertson will be chuckling all the way around right now, I guarantee you. Greg Gilfillan, probably best not to stick a microphone right in front of him straight away, Joe Tanner. I'm pretty sure he'll get his TV head straight on straight away, but there'll be a few choice words and a bit of a red mist under that visor.
He's probably had enough time to cool down, but these guys all close racing, and to be fair, Michael had a few mistakes and a few moments in the race. Greg had a few moments in the race. It evened itself out, but that one by Greg, I actually thought he was going for a ride-through penalty.
Yeah, one of the fastest in the world. So, as we see, Mick Robertson wins from Greg Gilfillan. In third place is Paul McClung. That's your podium. Another fantastic fourth for Shawnee Cooper, Liam Shelcock, Sammy Tasker, Matthew Polanski, and in eighth place this time we have Mark Heritage. Let's hand down to Joe Tanner.
Greg, so much hard work. You led it. It wasn't a big lead. You were doing so well, and then at the final hurdle out the last corner, all went wrong.
Yeah, pushing it for the whole race. Well, Mick passed me at one bit, but I thought instead of just hiding behind them, I'll just go for it straight away. And I managed to keep in front of him for the whole race. And that last lap, last corner, just a bit too keen. Tried to stay in front, and the back end came right out, and that was that.
Did you know it was the last lap?
Yeah.
Mike told me he didn't see the board, so I didn't know if he didn't realise that it was the final lap, and just the last little bit, the bit that counts when you have to cross the line, it all went wrong.
Yeah, I seen the last lap flag out, and I was just trying to stay in front really, and then pushing it a bit too hard. I thought I might have saved it after that, and then I seen him come up the side of me pretty much, but I was trying to do in the first race this morning, but it went in his favour.
Well done. Still a couple of great races today. Well done.
Yeah, good fun. Cheers.
Michael, yet another win, a great win, but you must feel a little bit bad for Greg, because right at the very end is when he had his mistake, and that's when you capitalised on it.
Aye, to be honest, we had the whole through the race. Greg and myself are having a lot of moments, but we're both running scrub tyres from Brands Hatch, and they've done a few laps now, so they're just getting past our limit. So we try to be sensible at the same time, but Greg was out of seat a few laps. I managed to catch him, but I done the same. I tucked the front going into the chicane. I had to lift it up. I ended up going over the second curb, and I was more concerned about coming off it, going over the curb, but I stayed on. Greg managed to pass, but I never seen the last lap flag when I was out there. And when I come out top of Duffus, Greg had a bit of a bad moment. Actually, I thought he was off, but I passed him. I didn't see the checker flag till I come into the hairpin. I was like, that's the race finished, so it worked in my favour. But awesome race, I'm happy.
Well done, in one piece as well for next weekend.
I think that'll be me for the day, because the tyres are a bit short now, so at least it's still in one piece, and hopefully go the same again next week.
Well done, man.
Thank you.
Paul, so close now. We've been talking about you getting to grips with Greg and Mike the whole time, and you're so close, right on the back of them in that one.
Yeah, but it's just a wee bit that's hard to find, but we went quickest the last two laps there, so we've got the pace. We just need to try and get it from the word go. We've got a small problem with the bike, but I don't know if it's just me or the bike, so we need to try and sort that out for the next race and see how it goes.
Remember, it's your first year on this big bike, well, the bigger bike, obviously coming from the Mini Twin. You've got to be fairly happy with how it's going, especially the pace that these guys are running.
Yeah, that's right. I think this is our 7th outing on it, so it's not too bad for just only being on it for 7 meetings.
Absolutely, well done.
Cheers, thanks.
So as we see the guys on the podium getting their presentations, Mick Robertson happy with that one, Greg Gilfillan looking a little bit miffed maybe, and third place Paul McClung getting ever quicker every time he steps on that bike. Championship positions, Mick Robertson 274, Greg Gilfillan 190, Paul McClung 110. The class of the Superstock 600 field. Then we've got Shand, Shelcock, Cooper, Matthew Powell the visitor, and Cathal Lafferty down in 8th position. And we end this programme on a sad note. We have to report the passing of Matt Polanski. Seen here in the centre of the front row on his number 80 R6 Yamaha. Leading the race, battling hard with Lee Teasdale. Matt was a very popular figure in the paddock, not just a racer, a family man and a very good friend. Matt loved his bike sport, whether it was racing or watching on the television. On behalf of everybody at the Knockhill Motor Sports Club and the circuit and AJK TV, we'd like to offer our deepest condolences to Matthew's family.